Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming to the second floor of the $1 Million Staircase. I'm Assemblyman Robert Smullen from the Mohawk Valley in the Adirondacks. I just want to acknowledge some of the folks that are here today to make sure that I express the gratitude that my family has for the support of our son, A.J. Smullen. Here today is our Assembly Minority Leader, Will Barclay, Senate Minority Leader, Rob Orr, and if you would, we'll just hold the applause, and I'll go through everything. We've got the Senate sponsor of the bill, Senator Pat Fahey. Senator George Borrello is here. Senator Joe Griffo is here on his way. A couple people I need to mention right up front. The New York State Sheriff's Association is here in support, as well as the town of Niskayuna, where my son's accident occurs. The supervisor, Aaron Cassidy Dorian, and the chief of police, Jordan Kochan. We've got too many Assembly and Senate colleagues to mention, but I'd just like to start up front and just say that this is truly a nonpartisan bill. In so many different ways. What I'm proud to introduce today here is a bill, Assembly Bill 3938, which will be known as the Alexander John Smullen Traffic Safety Memorial Law. This law is going to establish a traffic safety memorial sign program across New York State to publicly memorialize the victims of fatal vehicle collisions. This legislation is named in honor of my wife, Megan, our late son, Alexander John A.J. Smullen, who he tragically passed away just less than a year ago today, on March 6, 2024, in Albany Medical Center. He was 14 years old. He was in the fight of his life at the pediatric ICU, and he succumbed to a traumatic brain injury. Now, this isn't a new bill for me, unfortunately. I picked this bill up. A few years prior to my son's death, I'd heard about Faith McFarland and Sean Bracken, who had passed away in 2022. They were tragically killed with a head-on collision by a drunk driver. Went into their lane and took both of their lives. And what I learned is that fatal accidents like these are not rare. We have Aisha Tater from the Donate Life New York State program is here. We know that according to the 2024 report in June, moving in the wrong direction, this is from the state comptroller, motor vehicle accidents in our state are actually on the rise by 25% since 2019. In 2022, there are 1,175 motor vehicle fatalities in New York State, the highest number since 2013. Pedestrians, like my son, were 1/4 of all crash fatalities in 2022, which is over 8 percentage points higher than the national average. That tells you that something is wrong. And in addition, about 1 in 3 fatalities in New York State involve speeding, more than 402 fatalities. And this is data, and no one wants to be part of a statistic, but the data says the following. This is from the Traffic Safety Management and Research. From 2023, there were 308 pedestrian fatalities in motor vehicle crashes, 28% of motor vehicle crash fatalities in our state. There were 259 fatalities in alcohol-related crashes, 23% of motor vehicle crash fatalities in our state. And there are 304 fatalities in drug-related crashes, 20% of motor vehicle crash fatalities in our state. You get the idea. These statistics are outrageous, and they're real people, real New Yorkers that are affected by this. And when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And that's what my wife and I have chosen to do. not just to stand up and speak, but to act. And on a day like today, I am so grateful to be a legislator in New York State with the power to act, the power to take the initiative, to do what's right. So the Alexander John Smullen Traffic Safety Memorial Law will enact a program to allow family and friends the opportunity to purchase a sign to memorialize a victim or victims of fatal vehicle collisions. You see them all over New York State on roadways, all around the state, on our highways, on our county roads, on our town roads, where people put up a little shrine to their lost family member. And we would just like to say in New York State, and I think I can speak for all my good colleagues and all the advocacy organizations that are here to say that this is the right thing to do. So let's work in the Assembly, and then let's work in the Senate and ask the governor to pass this common sense legislation to memorialize the victims of traffic fatalities in New York State. Now, we've got a lot of folks that want to speak. I'm going to start by bringing up first our leader, Assembly Minority Leader Will Barclay. Will?
Thank you very much, Colonel. It's nice first to be here in a bipartisan manner for a change, frankly, but I can't think of a more fitting thing to do in a bipartisan manner than get behind Colonel Smullen, and this seems to be very common sense, good piece of legislation. On behalf of the Republican Conference in the Assembly, I want to commend the Colonel, his wife Megan, for taking what is a terrible tragedy and have the brave ability to come up here and speak about it and try to turn something that was so tragic into something good. So, Colonel, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
You have my full support, and I know you have the full support of the conference.
Thank you. Thank you. And next, I'd like to bring up Senate Minority Leader Rob Ortt. Rob?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Colonel. I'll just echo what my colleague Will Barclay said. I can't imagine what it's like to lose a child, and to go through that pain and that tragedy, and it's something that never, I'm sure, never goes away. It's just a wound that you have to tend to for the rest of your life. And Bob and his wife Megan have that great burden, but they also have that great responsibility to try to take something tragic and make something positive out of it. And like so many parents that I've met that have lost loved ones, they take that hurt and that pain and they try to turn that into something positive, not only for themselves, but really for other people. And in a place that there's a lot of things that we can't do, right? We can't bring people who are deceased back. We can't undo the past. There's a lot of things that are controversial here in Albany that we're not going to agree on. This is not one of those. This is something that we should do. This is something we can do. And I believe, and I'm confident, this is something we will do. I can tell you, I want to thank Senator Fahey for sponsoring this in the Senate. I'm confident our conference will support this. I'm confident it'll fly through the Senate, hopefully unanimously. I'm sure the Assembly the same. And if it goes to the governor's desk, I am hopeful and confident that she will sign this and give New York families like the Smullens just that ability to recognize their loved one and maybe remind other people who go past that sign to slow down or get off their phone or be more careful so that there's not an additional future signs going forward. So I want to thank Bob Smullen for the great work that he does every day. Our condolences and prayers are with you, your family, and with AJ, and I know he's looking down and very proud right now. So, Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Senator Ortt. Now, this is very important, and I want to recognize Senator Pat Fahey for being the Senate sponsor of this bill. We served together on the Higher Education Committee as chairwoman and ranking member for 2 years. And we didn't agree on all aspects of education policy. Most of it we did because we were like-minded about the value of higher education. But I'm very grateful for her to picking up the mantle of leadership and making this bill a nonpartisan bill. So, Senator Fahey, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Assemblymember Smullen, and thanks to all colleagues on both sides of the aisle and both bodies. I just read about this legislation very early yesterday morning, and it was too early to text, so I sent an email and said, if you don't have a sponsor, I'd love to carry this. Many know that I have stood at many, many events on pedestrian safety, safer pedestrian crossings, bike lanes, and more, because we're going in the wrong direction on this country, as you mentioned in all the statistics. We are seeing more pedestrian deaths, we are seeing more bike deaths, and I so commend Robert Smullen, his wife, and the entire family. We very much have a very shared grief. I lost my son 3 years ago on Friday. While my son's was to cancer, I can more than relate, and I'm honored to be able to do this because I'm very impressed that Mr. Smullen has taken his grief and is turning it into action. And if we can, by slowing people down, just as the ghost bikes remind people something horrific happened here, it would be the same with a memorial. And maybe, as you said, it will get someone off their phone. It will get you to think twice before you have that extra drink, before you have any drugs, anything. We, again, in the wrong direction. This is the right bill. We need those visual cues because we've got to do something with the aggressive driving. And again, I'm so proud. By the way, Mr. Smullen immediately wrote back, well, I think Joe Griffo wanted. And I said, well, I think I know how to talk to Joe. And Joe and I have sponsored bills before, so I think Joe would understand. So thank you, Joe Griffo, for also letting me take the lead on this. Thank you again. Honored to serve with all of you.
Thank you, Senator Fahey. We're very grateful. So this is a statewide issue, so next is Senator George Borrello to share from Western New York.
Thank you, Assemblyman. First of all, I want to thank you for what you've done to stand up for these folks that have suffered the same tragedy that you've suffered, and that you have the ability now and the power to make this happen, and to bring together this bipartisan group shows the strength of this. You know, unfortunately, we all have stories like this to tell. In my district, someone I knew, a family friend, 9-year-old girl, Emmeline Wilcox, was going to dance class with her mother driving at 9:30 in the morning. They were rear-ended by an impaired driver and driven into the path of a semi-truck, and Emmeline was killed. We've introduced a bill 2 years in a row now to memorialize that section of the state highway, and it is yet to move. This is an opportunity now to give all of us, the families, the friends, the supporters, the ability to put that sign up, to bypass the red tape of Albany, that even something like this is still bogged down in red tape. A sign to memorialize a dead little girl is still waiting to pass. So let's take it out of the hands of state bureaucracy, and let's put it into the hands of the families and the friends and the people that know the truth. Let's make sure that sign goes up, so maybe it does give someone pause, that they think twice about their actions, because they see someone else, a real name, a real person, not just a statistic that was tragically had their life come to an end because of bad decisions made. You know, the safety of vehicles has increased tenfold in the last couple decades, and yet we have a 25% increase in vehicular accidents here in New York State. That tells you something, that with all the technology we have, bad decisions cannot be outweighed by good technology. So we need to remind people to make good decisions. So I'm proud to support this bill, and I hope, like everyone else, this sails through the Senate and the Assembly, and Governor Kathy Hochul signs it. Thank you very much for letting me speak today.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, Senator Borrello. Next up, we've got Kyle Belakopatitsky from the New York State PTA. Sorry about that.
Thank you for having us. I'm the Executive Director of the State Parent Teacher Association, and on behalf of the parents and families of our 2.6 million school children, first and foremost, I give all of our thoughts and prayers for your continued support in your family's tragedy. And when tragedy turns into action, that's what Albany is about. We fully support this legislation. Traffic fatalities is the second leading cause of death of children and youth in New York State and our country. We have to continue to make our roads safer, continue to make our roads a more secure place, and continue to educate parents and families and community members that we are all in this together to support, again, our children and families in that traffic safety. We have a traffic safety program called Every Child Travels Safely. So I applaud the Smullen family, you and your wife, for continuing this mission, really to support children and families, and AJ will always be in our prayers and in our memories in New York State PTA. We are excited about this proposal and this plan to really support families in their signs of grief and supporting their lost loved ones. Know that our members, all 2.6 million school children, their families, and our 250,000 members, we're going to advocate for swift passage of this legislation in both the Senate and the Assembly and our upcoming lobby day on Monday. Know that we stand with you and your family and stand with all of the colleagues behind us, because we know that traffic safety continues to be a problem on our roads and streets, and we applaud all of the work together in both sides of the House to get this legislation done. Thank you so much as we measure our mission for children each and every day and support every child with one voice. Thank you for both of your work.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kyle. So everyone's behind this. The New York State PTA, the New York State Donate Life Program, the New York State Sheriff's Association. We're not going to stop. We've got great support for this, and we really want to make this happen on behalf of New York's families. So for the time being, we'll bring this press conference to a close, but next Monday on March 3rd in Niskayuna, we're actually going to reveal AJ's sign for the public. And I thank the town of Niskayuna for stepping up and helping with that endeavor. Because this is something that's important for all the people in New York State, all of the families, and for our AJ. Let's get this done for AJ. Can you help me out, folks? I really want to thank all my colleagues. Are there any questions from the media at this point? All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming. We're very grateful. To all my colleagues, thank you.